LeBron! Let's talk schedule, Lakers schedule going into the season. I'm looking at it right now. Give me 1 second. So obviously we got Lakers Portland first. Then we got Lakers versus Rockets. Then after Lakers versus Rockets, Lakers versus Spurs. Then Lakers versus Phoenix. Then Lakers versus Denver. Then versus San Antonio, Minnesota, Dallas, Portland, Toronto, Minnesota, the Kings, the Hawks, the Portland, and then that's when November 15th happens, which the season will be a full month. So for the first full month of the season, they play non-playoff teams 1, 2, 3, 4 times technically, which is the Hawks, the Kings, the Nuggets, and the Suns. The rest are all playoff teams. So how do you think that they'll fare for the first month?
I think they can go like 62, 63%.
Okay.
I think they'll be better. I know some people saying 500 or below 500, but the thing with me is I think that they're better than most of those teams. I think honestly, they're better than most of those teams. Like even if
they play 14 games to begin the season, so what do you think their record will be in the first month? 14
games. I think they could go maybe 9-6.
Okay.
Which is not bad. Like you start on 9-6 for a new team. I'm not mad at that. Like you got a whole bunch of young guys. You got pretty much a new team. I'm not mad at that. I think 9-6 is a realistic thing that they could go. Again, I think that they're better than most of those teams. I think that if you do this, if you have most of those games on game 75, I think that they would beat most of those teams.
I think you mean 8-6, but I feel you. But I feel you. I'm not upset at that.
I think if you have most of these games on game 74, game 75. That they win those games. But I think that because, again, it's a new team, they're going to lose some of those games that they would win because the team is just new.
Yeah, see, I see a loss coming versus the Rockets. I see a loss coming potentially versus the Spurs. I see a loss coming versus... I don't think that they're going to win. Don't think that they're going to beat Portland the second time when they play them in November. I don't think that they're going to beat Portland. I think they're going to lose one of those 2 games to Minnesota, and I think they're going to drop one of those games versus either the Clippers, the Kings, or the Suns. So what's that put them at? So it's tough. I think 8-6 is not a bad prediction. I wouldn't be surprised if they're 7-7. LeBron teams always start off slow, but even going into getting into the meat of the second full month of the season, they play against the Magic, the Heat, the Cavs, the Jazz, the Magic, the Nuggets, the Pacers, the Mavericks, the Suns. Then they play the Spurs twice, the Grizzlies, Miami, and then the Rockets, and then pretty much that's kind of the 10 days before Christmas. So that's the next stretch. So I think the next stretch they can wind up probably going more 10-4 in that stretch because they'll play a lot of non-playoff teams. I think the initial stretch they start off 7-7. I'm not upset at the 8-6 thing, but I think it just depends, man. I think it depends on how well Lonzo and Ingram play with LeBron. We didn't see LeBron score a lot during the preseason. He had his stretches where he had a couple good halves, but we're talking about a full game now, right? LeBron has only essentially played the first half. So now we got to see for 48 minutes because in the second half of those games, those young guys have been essentially able to run wild, do whatever the hell they want to do for the whole game. I don't necessarily know if that's going to be able to work out the way that we think. And even with KCP was up and down in the regular season. Kuzma had preseason. Kuzma had a terrible start to the preseason. So I think that we'll see. LeBron!